Oh, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for coming, especially for Colleen and Chris for taking out of your valuable time to help us out this evening. I also want to say that if you have any questions or comments, please wait till the end. This is going to be pretty quick and self-explanatory. Some of your questions might be answered as Chris and I move forward. Okay? Thank you very much.
The first item on our agenda is tied directly to the budget. Our broker went out to market for the life and disability policies. Everyone, including the incumbent, was looking at increases. One strategy that we can use to hold off on an increase is to offer a voluntary life policy. And let me pull this up so you can see the details. So you can see our Equitable was calling for a 17% increase, or about $20,000. Tri-Band went to the market. We had Equitable price out a supplemental life offering for all other employees. Right now, administrators can get a supplemental life policy, and Equitable agreed to hold the current rates for life and disability if we achieve good participation on the supplemental life program. Basically, they're looking if we get 25% of the staff to buy into the supplemental life. Here you can see the details of the increases that Equitable was at 17%, New York Life at 37%, Prudential at 61%, and Hartford at 12%. There's the short-term disability and the long-term disability.
We're covering the short and long term, right?
Yes. So the supplemental life has a benefit maximum of $150,000. You can see the rates per thousand by age group. It's guaranteed coverage, and it's a rate guarantee for 2 years. So the question for the committee is, are you willing to offer the supplemental life policy in order to keep rates the same?
Who's paying it? We are there.
The employee. It's a supplemental life policy the
Yeah.
employee would pay.
I'm in agreement with it.
I
I think it's a no-brainer. Okay,
Yeah, right.
agreed.
All agreed?
All agreed.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. That ties directly into our second topic, because we had to build something into the budget for life and disability. We put it in at no increase, assuming you were going to agree to the life and disability proposal. Looking at the proposed final budget, we're going to start by looking at revenues. So I would like to highlight the changes in revenue since we last met. Real estate is up by $297,500. That's a 1% increase in millage. The other changes in revenues, scrolling down, basic ed up 15,125. That matches the governor's proposal. And special education subsidy up 82,24. That matches the governor's proposal. All other estimates are as they were in January. In total, revenues are up 320,849.
We're still looking at a mill bringing in around 250. A millage increase of 1 mill is about 250,000.
1% is 297.
That'll do.
Now I want to look at expenditures.
Could I ask you a quick question on
Absolutely.
the, could you tell me the classifications for the 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, and 9,000 categories? So is 6,000 local,
6,000 is local,
is local, okay?
7,000 is state, 8,000 is federal, 9,000 is other.
Okay, so other would be like things like what?
Bond issue.
Gone.
Bond. You probably saw the PTAs and the contribution, yeah.
The PTA contributions are in the 6,000 series.
On that local though. Is that right? I got that right?
Under 6920 contribution private sources. You can see the largest is the Lehigh Valley Health Network, budgeted at 66,000.
That's right. Okay, got it.
Do you want me to go through all the revenues?
No, not all of them. So on page 11, can you explain to me?
Hold on. We're gonna hold off on some, let him go through. He might answer those questions, and at the end, we can answer everyone's questions. So, if we-
Well, he was ready to move to expenditures. So why wouldn't I ask my questions on revenue
because we
now?
haven't even gone over the expenditures yet.
Well, but these are revenue questions.
I'll take the revenue
Okay.
questions,
Go
if you
ahead.
don't mind.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So, could you explain to me the 6990 and 6991 lines or categories?
6990 is miscellaneous revenue, things that might go into that. And 6990,
I don't know what that one is.
it would be things like if somebody paid for a sponsorship would be an example of a 6990.
Okay,
A 6991 is refund of prior year expenditures. That's where historically the district has coded. There's a once a year reconciliation with the intermediate unit contract. And
Okay.
where our contract estimate was higher than what actuals turned out to be.
uh-huh,
In the subsequent fiscal year, we booked that as a refund of prior year expenditures.
okay,
So that's why in 2026, you see it budgeted at 419. In 2027, I think we're closer. I have it budgeted at 100,000.
okay.
So that's 100,000 pays for stuff that they used last year.
Stuff that we didn't use,
Well, yes, last year. So it's 2 years behind.
Wow,
Yes.
okay. Okay, so then on on page 14, category 7311.
Sure. That's pupil transportation subsidy.
It's a state revenue, right?
It's a state revenue.
Mhm.
It's based on an annual report that's done to the state where we have to report each bus, how many kids are on it, how old the bus is. The IU reports the transportation that they do for us for early intervention students. We also report charter and non-public students. The estimate of 950 is good. The report that we filed this year is going to bring revenues right in around 950, so we assume the same for next year.
Okay, so that is all inclusive, what you just listed?
Yes.
Okay, okay, all right. Okay, and my last question is page 16, category 7800.
7,800 is broken into two. There's 7,810 Social Security. That's where we get back half of what we pay out in Social Security taxes. And then 7820 is retirement. We get back half of what we pay out on retirement expenses.
So that's directly tied to the salaries.
Yes. The greater salaries you have, the greater your revenue will be.
Okay. Thank you. That's it for my questions on this, on revenue.
All right, I'm gonna jump to expenditures by function, give you some color commentary as we go through. Buckle up, it's gonna be a ride. So in the 1100 series, you actually see a decrease in the budget from 21.2 million to 20.2 million. We made a really conscious effort to soak up any slack in the salary accounts that were there. So we're not budgeting for, like we actually budgeted to the position and the person in the position.
Okay.
So that's why that figure looks lower and closer to the 25 actual.
Okay.
In the 1200 series is special education. The board will recall that in 26, you pulled out $2 million from the special ed budget and put into the contingency. So you really have to compare 8.3 million plus 2 million or 10.3 million to 10.3 million. I will say this, we're working with Lou aggressively on his budget. I am absolutely 100% confident that we will pull 800,000 out of this budget before it goes to you for final approval on June 3rd.
800,000, you're thinking?
800,000 out of the 1200s.
That's before we do the shell game with the budgetary reserve, right?
I don't know if we're going to do the shell game
Okay.
budgetary reserve. You guys will have to weigh in on that. But we're going to pull 800,000 out of the 1200 series.
Can I ask a question relating to that? For this year, I know we still have time to go. Do you have a feeling where we're going to be with that line item? Are we going to need to dip into that too?
Oh, absolutely. We're already at that point.
Right, okay. So I guess the better question is, do you have a feeling as to how much we're going to be dipping into that too?
At least half.
Okay.
Yeah, with this last payment of the IU, we were already over the budget. 1,300 is tuition for the vocational education. It's actually a decrease from last year or the current year of 1.2 million going to 1.2 million, a little bit lower. Tuition next year includes a contribution to their capital reserve fund. Our share of that is about 29,000. In the 1400 series, you see an increase to 226,113 from 178,507. Colleen and I will be pulling 60,000 out of this budget before we hit the board approval on June 3rd.
Okay.
The 1400 series.
Got it.
The 60,000 will be coming out of homebound instruction.
I say that's what it looks like. So the last column is what?
Requested.
The last column is requested
Okay. And the
for
second,
27.
the first column is last year's.
The first column is last year's, the second column is 26.
First column is 25 actual. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I
No-
should have known
Well,
better.
this one's a little bit easier.
No great surprises in other adult programs in community college. In the 2100 series,
That's all right. I know what it is now.
we have increases. What I would say about the 2100 series is that a lot of what you're seeing here is recoding of staff to the right place. That's particularly true in guidance services. There were some people coded to 1100 before, and they needed to be moved to 2120. In the 2200 series, we've got a decrease from 1.4 to 1 million. A lot of that's in instructional staff development. And it's a lot of its differences in the curriculum budget. In the 2300 series, we have increases. And again, a lot of this is coding, but part of it is $200,000 under board services. And that's for any settling special education litigation. The original request in January was for 300,000. We backed that off to 200,000. We know we have one claim in the hopper. We've got one ongoing claim. We've got one claim in the hopper, and this gives you capacity to take on one more claim.
Did these years past, did that used to come out of the special ed budget?
I don't think so. When we looked at the history, it was coming out of board services.
Okay,
You've had good luck with special education litigation in this school district.
it's not just luck.
Let's hope it continues. Then we've got the 2400 series, budgeted pretty closely to 26 levels. No great surprises there. 2500 series is actually a decrease. In 26, there was about $500,000 in operation of buildings that was part of the capital budget. So this is just tweaking down Al's budget back to prior levels.
I'm sorry, is that the 2500s, did you say?
The 2500s are flat.
Okay.
The 2600s
Oh,
are a
2600s.
decrease because we don't have any capital budget budgeted in the 2620. The 2700 series, you see an increase in vehicle operation services. There are two factors there. One is there's an inflationary factor in the craft contract. The other is an allowance for an increase in diesel.
Still haven't gotten the price on that.
No, that contract opens, I think it's next week, the bid opens.
It's too bad they didn't do it back in December.
Frankly, that's an area that we might have to come back and add more money to.
Right, based on our conversation.
Yeah. Understood.
Then we've got the 2800 series. The 2800 series includes technology services, fairly flat at 700,000 versus 673.
Could you specifically address the one for public information service 2823, line 2823? I'm just curious what that is.
Colleen, do you want to pull up what that's for? We'll drill into the detail. Give us just a second.
Sure.
I have some
Thank you.
information on that. One of the requirements that the federal government has put on us is for all the students to be enrolled in the FAFSA program. If I'm not mistaken, Colleen, right? We brought that up the other day. The other one was XLO and replacing Naviance. Okay. Am I right on that, Gary? Yeah. So that's why that increase in number there. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the FAFSA, everyone has to do it and they have to opt out or else they're enrolled right into that, if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Yep. Thank you very much, Dr. Donnelly.
All right. So the whatever FAFSA was one. What were the other two?
XELLO.
XELLO. Okay. And that has to do
That's
with,
replacing Naviance. Michael
Right.
could tell you more about it.
okay, that's some kind of testing for, no,
it's
that's
for,
for
We
like,
talked about it at EPS.
yeah.
Career education work standards platform.
I do remember that. Okay. And what was the third one?
I said replacing Naviance. XLO.
Oh.
Cello.
Zello.
Cello.
Okay.
Zello.
Yeah, Zello.
Okay.
I also if I may say that I believe part of that increase is also due to part of the comprehensive plan and looking at apps for communication with families, in addition to the transition to a website. The Zello and FAFSA are all in one, and I'm actually able to apply money that's already in my account to pay for that, and the additional is going to be used by grant funding.
For the comp plan piece of it, is that what you mean?
So what I believe what you're seeing there, part of that increase is within the comprehensive plan, specifically to communications from that section of the comp plan.
Right, okay.
When we get down to the 2900s, not much budgeted there, fairly flat. Student activities, again, we budgeted right to the EDRs. And we end up with a figure that's very close to 2025 levels as opposed to 2026. Frankly, there was too much money budgeted in 26 in the 3200 series. That's your athletics and your student activities. Then we get down to the 4600s. In the current year, you have 1,000,008. That's where your hardcore capital projects are. You see the increase to 5.7 for next year under building replacement.
That's mostly the middle school.
3 million of that is the middle school auditorium. That's an area that between tonight and June 3rd, I have to address a few things in that category. The treatment plant, instead of 1 million, should be 1,000,003. The middle school auditorium, instead of 3 million, should be 4,000,002. The middle school HVAC controls, instead of 800,000, should be 470,000. Then there's 2 projects that have arisen that were not known in January. That is the tennis court repairs at 44,000 and improvements to the PHS intrusion system at 30,000.
So all of those things are not currently in this number,
Those
It's
changes are not currently
in this number. And
That totals 1,170,000.
So that would be out of the capital funds.
Yes. When you look at the total expenses, we went from 57.3 to 58.9. That total increase is much less than the increase in,
If you pull those 2 capital project things out of there, you're in pretty good shape.
oh yeah, the budget actually went down.
Right.
Except for capital projects. So we really, I know there's a large history here of running surpluses. We really tried to get out of that business with this year's budget.
okay, so when are we projected to see that adjustment to the capital projects piece?
You'll see it on May 18th
On May
and
18th.
again on June 3rd in the final budget vote. So we know we definitely have 860,000 coming out. We'll be adding in 1.17 in. That 1.17 is all in capital projects. We'll take a look at what the bid results are on diesel and heating fuel to see if we need to make another adjustment there. To give you another view of the budget, let's look at the budget by major object. You see the 100s are salaries. Salaries are actually budgeted lower for 27 than they were in 26. Again, we budgeted to the position, to the person. So I feel really good that we soaked up the excess there.
Okay, so our actual for 2025 on that one is around 360,426. So how did we get to the 684,000?
It's just how the people are coded.
It was coded.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And then how about, is that the same thing for the overtime salaries as well? Which is the 113? Same idea, coding. Okay. Can someone explain to me what the crafts and trades line is? What is that about? That's
Hold up.
160.
Yeah.
Give us a second.
Sure.
Only no pulled up.
Salaries and. Yeah. Warehouse delivery. It must have been Jerry Half or maybe Jan, but it doesn't give me a name. It just gives me the code, but I'll keep looking into it.
Okay.
So it's warehouse.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we were,
Warehouse
on that
delivery,
line,
yes.
we were 0 in 26 and now we're at 52.
There are actual expenses hitting that line at 26.
That's the actual budget. It's not what has been spent this year.
Yeah, that column where it's 0 is the budget for 26, not actuals.
Right, okay. So
So the actual numbers are mid-30s. And we're going up 20.
right, so it's, but, all right, so that's what you're looking into is what that 52 is covering.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Then we move on to benefits. Benefits are also budgeted lower than the current year, going from 14.9 to 14.6. There's an increase in medical. There wasn't enough budget in medical in 26. So the increase looks really large, but the 26 number wasn't high enough. Conversely, the Social Security and retirement, there's probably too much budgeted in 26. So those are all formula driven off of the salary numbers. So we feel pretty good about those estimates for 27.
And that's all the 300s.
That's all the 200s.
Oh, the 200s. Oh, okay.
Going into the 300s, you see 322 professional education IU. It looks like a big increase, but I remember that you pulled $2 million out of the special education budget, and some of it was in the 322s. I also will be reducing the 322 between the 1200 function and the 2100 and 2200 function. We'll be pulling $800,000 out of the special education budget. A chunk of that is going to come out of the 322 object. Subs instructional is an increase, but remember that you increase the rates for subs, so that's going to be more. Then we have an increase in the 390 object code. You have what that is, don't you?
Yeah, the 390 object code was other professional technical water testing. Water testing was one of the big things, especially when we had all the water testing at Durham Knox for the arsenic and the wells.
How about,
So why is that going to be so high in 27?
Do you want to pull up the 390s?
Oh, sorry. 3.
Does that include replacing the arsenic gel? Is that under this part or?
Calling a second. Pull up the actual expenses.
For this year.
Yeah.
Right? 390, you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the actual.
Right. The expenses here are water treatment service, water testing, elevator inspections.
Oh, that's right.
Um, The majority is that water treatment service and water testing.
Okay, the water treatment is included in that.
Correct.
Yeah, chances are the treatment is more expensive than the testing, but I could be wrong.
Yes.
Yes.
Do we have
Yeah.
an actual?
What's the year-to-date actual in the 390s?
Slow here.
Do we have some additional testing because of the turnover in the treatment plant?
That's a good question. I can't answer
Should-
that.
I would
You wouldn't think so, but
Yeah.
183,550. That's how much is in the 390s. Actual
183.
1,550.
So we'll take another look at the 390s and see if we can't shave anything out of the budget.
Yeah, it just seems like a big increase if there isn't something that's.
We'll meet with Al and see if we can cut it.
And I'm a little confused on the 350, unless you had more on that with the 390. I'm just curious why the change for the security and safety stuff is what,
What's budgeted flat to 26.
so that includes security officer as well as like cameras and all of that kind of stuff, or no?
Security officers and I believe licenses in the cameras.
No, the security
Investigation
offers under
fees.
that, is it?
What's that?
Security officer would be
I'm
under
sure
this.
under that 50,000.
No, they're not under that. Ours is-
Cardinal Point is under that.
Cardinal points under 350.
Because that's
350.
not, they're not our employees.
Shouldn't talk about, but there are other things in that line item. Yeah.
Okay, okay. All right. Okay,
Going to the 400 series of objects, the growth in object code 430 repairs and maintenance is directly attributable to the increase in the capital projects that is being done. The rest of it's pretty flat to 26 level.
what would be the other rentals line at 449?
Sure.
the lifts to take care of the lights, the stuff
Yes.
that we don't have on hand. Those are what come to my mind. We didn't rent any stove or mobile equipment.
Events.
You good?
Okay.
In the 500 series, you see the increase in contracted carriers, a couple 100,000. Again, that's where the diesel is. We might have to come back to that and add more money after the bid opens. Student transportation from the IU, the 350,000 matches what our actual expense is going to be in 26. There's a year lag on that. And it's all driven by early intervention students. So it's the early intervention students that show up and need transported to the IU for services.
We're going all the way south.
And it's actually only a handful of kids.
Don't have to be.
Then we've got the insurances. We've got We're meeting with the broker again on Friday to see if we can get better figures for the 2 insurance accounts. Right now, we have them in at an increase. Charter school tuition, the 562 you see is a decrease. That's because of the new formula that the state put in on the PDE 363 forms. We talked about this in January as an area that we would go back to and revise. We went back to it and we revised. There is slack in that line to account for 2 more students of regular education.
And this line is without doing the, I'm calling it the shell game with the budgetary reserve.
Yes.
So how about the tuition for private? What does that mean?
Those are special education students that are placed in private centers.
Okay.
You'll see some movement in the tuition accounts as a whole once we meet, we're meeting with Lou tomorrow to pull that 800,000 out of his budget. So you'll see some movement in some of those accounts.
Okay.
Linda, just for your information, 569 tuition other, that was homebound special ed. Okay.
And Linda, your question about object 160, about the crafts and trade, 3 employees are hitting that, but I would think that Michael might know what they're, Nicole Kowicki and Rachel Dawson and Neiman are all hitting that. It says specialize in crafts and trade.
The last 2 were language teachers.
Especially in language. I assume that's who's hitting those.
Then we get to the 600 object code. Supplies is down greatly. Part of the capital budget for 26 was coded to a 610 supply, which sort of mystifies me, but it was. We don't have it coded there in 27. That's hence the decrease. Electricity, we've got 1 more year under the contract, so we've got that pretty flat. Heating oil, you see we've got a significant increase in place in anticipation of the bid.
Hopefully it doesn't double.
Technology supplies, lower than 26 levels. But again, Gary, everything you asked for, you've gotten. So we feel confident that that's a good number. Capital equipment original, 1.9 million. Capital equipment replacement, 3.5 million. That's your capital budget on the facility side of things. And going into the 800 series, we've got 200,000 for judgment against the LAA. We talked about that, how it's hitting the board accounts. Dues and fees pretty flat. Interest zero bonds is a decrease. Obviously, we're headed into the last couple of years of the bond issue. The contingency, we have at 280,000. The board will need to tell me if you want me to move money out of other budgets and into contingency like you did in 26. Then in the 900 series, you've got principal on the general obligation bond from 2019. All told, you're at 58.9 versus 57.3. But again, you can explain, more than explain that difference all on capital projects.
And that doesn't include almost the $1 million adjustments that you're going to be working on between now and May 18th.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right. So, handy dandy chart to go over all the changes with you between January and April. Salaries down by 441. This includes some of the changes that Dr. Bridget brought to the board and the board accepted. Benefits up by 279. That's mostly in healthcare. BCIU down 250,000. That was because of the autism classroom coming back to the district. Grants, in January, we had budgeted grants as one whole piece, but then also had the salaries for people in grants in the salary account. We don't need to duplicate that, so we removed the duplication and pulled out 273,000. Judgment against the LEA, we dropped by 100,000. Charter schools by 316. Upper box was up by the basically by the capital reserve transfer. Cyber Academy and administration, the board will recall in January, I told you I'd come back to it. I came back to it. We put out $142,000. Community relations, we also told you we'd come back to, that's down 29.5. IU transportation is an increase. It is what it is with the early intervention students.
Yeah, you got new contracts with all sports staff and they all went up. So the drivers and fuel costs, whatever, for transportation.
Auditorium lighting, we don't need to rent the auditorium lighting. Gary's got a project that's going to change the auditorium lighting for the plays and musicals. Heating oil, we have up 140,000. Contracted carriers and diesel, we have up 142,000. All told, the budget is 816,000 lower than what you saw it in January. So in January, we were at 59.7. We're now at 58.9. The revenue budget, when you looked at it in January, was at 48.7. We've added 320.8 thousand in revenues, so we're at 49,034. That brings your deficit down to 9.8 million. Of that, 2 million is coming from the retirement spike fund. 5.9 million is coming from the capital projects reserve. The remaining deficit after fund balance commitment is 1.9 million. I believe at the last committee meeting, we were at like 2.7.
Mhm.
That's
So
correct.
You've done a good job. Okay.
I've got one more handy chart to go over, unless you want to talk about the changes first.
No, I think you explained to me the line item on grants. I was confused at that. And you explained that that was a salary piece that was duplicated elsewhere
Yes.
that you pulled out. So that answered my question there.
All right, let's, the last chart I have for you is an expenditure projection. So in the 26 budget, we were budgeted at 57.3. Based upon numbers as of March 31st, I think we're going to come in at 53.8. So if I start with the audited fund balance of 31.1 million, I add in the projected revenues of 48.9, subtract the expenses of 53.8, I get an all-in fund balance of 26.2 million. I add in the 2027 revenues of 49, subtract the expenditures of 58.9, I get an all-in fund balance of 16.4. And again, that's that 9.8 coming from fund balance. 7.9 million is coming from dedicated fund balance reserves. That leaves you a deficit of 1.9 million.
Okay, simplifying it for me a little bit. To balance the 26 budget, that last 1.9 is what we're gonna have to come up with. What did we use budget in 26?
In 26, do you want the budget or do you want what the projected is?
Well, we might as well use the budget quicker compared to that.
Do you have the revenue? Can you pull up the revenues for the 26 budget? Oh, I can pull up the revenues. I have them right here. 26 revenues were budgeted at 48.3. I believe in doing a projection for you that it's actually going to be 48.9. And 26 expenditures were budgeted at 57.3.
Mhm.
I think the actuals will come in at 53.8.
Okay. I'm pretty sure we used more than $2 million to balance the budget, other than the capital.
Yes,
So we're down under $2 million
yes,
to balance the 27 budget.
yes.
That's a good number.
We're getting there.
So
It's
do
been a-
you, so, and I wasn't writing that down, but do you have a feeling then of what you think we're gonna use in fund balance at the end of this year?
I do. Let me put a little formula in here and we can just add these two together and it'll tell you what the usage is. 4.9 million.
But that includes capital.
That includes
Projects.
capital.
So what I'm looking at is how much of the gap are we gonna end up using that we had budgeted?
There's a way to do it. I know there is.
Bear with me.
Absolutely.
Scott, could you repeat your question? I'm not sure I heard the whole thing.
I'm just interested if we have a projection of how much of the gap of fund balance that we put in to balance the budget for
Current
our
budget.
current year, where we think we're gonna end up, how much of that fund balance are we gonna actually wind up using,
For this budget year, not for.
that we're in?
Correct.
To cover actuals, you're saying.
Well, it's an
Yeah, so
estimate.
it's
Yeah,
not
it's gonna be
going
an
into,
estimate.
it's not going into the next budget. He's asking, will we use any of what we projected from last year's budget to complete this
The
year?
total planned fund balance usage in the 26 budget was 5.7 million. 2 million of it was retirement spike. 3.5 million was capital projects. 200,000 of it was tax roll. So we're going to use less than what you anticipated using.
But I thought
The deficit there is 3.5. Right, that's the difference.
That's just retirement and capital. I think you have to keep going.
No, you're right.
right, so what I'm trying to get is, what was the amount for the current year that we're in the budget that we were using out of fund balance to fill the deficit?
3.6 million.
3.6 million. And how much of that 3.6 million projected do you think we're gonna end up using at the end of this?
You're not. The planned usage out of retirement, capital projects, and tax school more than covers the deficit.
Okay,
So,
so if I'm to just wrap this around my brain and compare it to where we are currently, last year, in order to bridge the budget gap that we had, it was 3.6 million. We said, well, we're gonna plan to use fund balance. And it looks like we may not have to dip into that.
Other than the planned usage for retirement spike, capital
Right.
projects, and upper box.
Right, right. No, absolutely. So in comparison, now we look at our current year that we're looking at. If we make no changes,
budget. you're talking-
instead of the current budget that we're discussing right now, to compare apples to apples,
You're comparing 1.9 to 3.6.
right? That's what I was getting at.
That does sound good.
Yeah.
And if we go back to the 2025 budget,
We
we
used
did,
six.
we did the
budgeted
same
six.
thing numbers were different. We ended up with a surplus
Yes, we
Right.
did.
of 333,000, I think it was.
300.
So just so that we're all tracking.
This district has a good track record of bringing in revenues a little bit higher than budgeted and expenditures way lower than budgeted. Now, I caution you that we soaked some of that up, and I went over those areas where you could see, like,
Yep.
to budget salaries lower than last year is a very aggressive move.
Right.
So I was trying to get you as good a picture as I can.
Yeah, no, you did a
That's
phenomenal,
very good.
phenomenal job. So thank you very much.
Mhm. Mhm.
Thanks for that question, Scott.
So-
Question.
It's a good
If we're,
question.
if we're talking about fund balance, that's this chart?
Fund balance would be 1913 in order to balance.
1.913.
Yeah, that's deficit, but I'm looking at what's in there, what's in fund balance.
Right,
There's basically three categories of fund balance. We've got the spike fund,
Capital
the
projects.
capital projects.
We're going to use 2 million of the spike fund, 5.9 of the capital projects. That capital projects usage will grow when we make that $1.17 million adjustment to increase for the projects.
But what's left in the spike fund after we pull the 2 million out?
1 million.
So there's another year in that.
Yeah.
So,
And that was the plan to draw that down.
yes. But it was also planned to increase the operating budget.
Right.
Over time to cover that.
Covered. So in next year,
Or the following
next year, we're only going to have $1 million of what we're using now to help cover things. And in 2 years, you're going to have nothing.
Right.
So that's
Scary.
4 mils.
Yeah. Oh, you were going there?
but all things considered, there's conversations to be had around what we're doing with buildings and such, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
So-
yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Right,
I-
so
That's just a big,
It's a
that's a big
transition.
gap to make up.
it's it's definitely a transition time, for sure.
Over the next 3 years.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, guaranteed, Linda.
Well, yeah,
Guaranteed.
yeah. And
Yeah.
once we get the major capital projects, not that the capital projects is going to go away, but our list of capital projects, are we going to have quite the same expenses to some of the rest of these? Those will need to be
Hold on. I
kind
can
of
pull up a-
shared out, like spread out as well.
I've got the 5-year capital projects plan right now for 27, 28. There's 2 million, 2.1 million. In 28, 29, there's 2.1 million. 29, 30, it's 1.1 million. 30, 31, it's 1.1 million.
Okay,
Obviously, when you get closer to the actual year, there will be adjustments to those
right,
figures.
right, absolutely.
But
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
dedicated reserves as of the end of the 24-25 audit that would cover all of the capital projects in the 5-year capital plan. One thing the board might want to consider is, do you want to fund some of this capital plan with a bond issue and spread the costs out over time,
Or
as
15
opposed
or
to
20 years. 20 years typically on a bond.
20 years typically, as opposed to taking the hit to your fund balance all at once? And that's a question I'd ask you guys to sort of talk about and see what your pleasure is.
So you spread the cost over 20 years, but then you got to add the interest cost to that.
Sure. But that also preserves the money that you have in the
Oh, yeah.
account,
Yes, yes, yes. Yes.
and knowing that certain costs will probably increase in a project that we're looking at right now in the middle school. Yeah. Thank you, Chris, for bringing that up. We're going to appreciate that.
Would you like me to change the budget for the 18th to reflect a bond issue as opposed to pay as you go?
I would say no, not this year,
Not this year?
but certainly consider it.
I would think another question to ask in regards to that, do we put a hold on that project at the middle school till we get more definitive answers as what Scott's been asking, and I have been with him on that. The way they're fast tracking that, there's a lot of unanswered questions. And, and when you move this fast, you usually miss something.
Well, we're gonna miss something no matter what.
Right, exactly. But that, if I'm not mistaken, the capital projects that we do have slated for the middle school include the ACs, correct? That's not part of the auditorium project.
No.
The
I think
AC
there's
is
a-
part of the auditorium
Yeah,
project.
I
Okay.
think there's
The
a piece
AC
that
for
goes
the auditorium.
into the auditorium.
Got
Yeah.
it.
It's replacement
Yeah.
there, it's not new.
I don't know that we can backtrack on that, can
Isn't
we?
the auditorium air conditioned now?
I believe so.
Yeah, so it's replacement of the auditorium air
Are
conditioning.
we
Right,
too
that's what
far
I meant.
gone for that? No.
Well, we're not too far gone as far as doing the work. Right now, we just put it out or are in the process of putting out for the RFP. So I would say we should be continuing with that, but we can see what we get, compare the engineers or architects 4 million, which does build in a cushion, to what the actuals are. Part of what we decided at Buildings and Grounds was that we wanted options in
Right,
those RFPs. So there's
Yep.
going to be, more discussion out of whatever we are presented with.
Mhm.
And then, yes, we have a timeline, but as far as I'm concerned, that's a tentative timeline. To me, I'm only one person, but we're taking this step by step. And depending upon what those numbers are when they come in from the bidders, I think we're going to need to look at it really seriously and then see if it's something that, we want to proceed with right now.
Yeah, the aggressive timeline gets it done by Christmas or something like that.
Mhm.
Well, that's what they're saying.
That's the
If the
aggressive
stars
timeline.
align, Jim.
I
If the stars
yeah.
align.
A lot of stars.
Right.
Yeah.
So if anything holds it up, then we may want to wait an extra 8 months.
Right. Agreed.
So we'll see.
Thank you again, Chris.
So for the May 6th agenda, I would ask the committee, can we move this budget that you saw tonight to the May 6th agenda? I'll make the other changes with Colleen that we talked about for May 18th. So it'll be some part skinnier, some part fatter when you see it on June 3rd.
Well, we've got to see the final budget before June 3rd, right?
You'll see it on May 18th.
Okay. So the numbers we look at May 18th are going to be close to the adjustments you just made tonight.
Yeah.
But there might be a few more.
Yeah, we're gonna take a look at that 390 object code. And see if we can't skinny that down. We'll meet with Al again to go over the facilities budget, see if there's anything we can skinny there as well.
We can lean on the IU to get the fuel costs. I can lean on the IU.
Yes, Jim, that would be great.
If that's the case, you've got, I think, some board members with questions on what we just saw.
Sure.
Let me go around the table here first. Anyone? Linda?
I've been asking my questions. I think I'm ready to hear what somebody else has to say and then maybe dive into some of those other areas that we talked about looking at. So,
Scott? Jim? Karen?
Yeah. So just, a general statement in that, it's really hard with the structure of this meeting and, I'm held accountable to do a roll call vote on the budget, and yet I can't be part of this conversation. So I wish we would have done a different structure. However, we had a number of items that Dr. O'Connell, I believe, had shared at the February fiscal meeting. And I could not find it on board docs at all, so I'm going from a list that, hopefully is accurate. But there were probably at least 10 to 12 different items on this list that were shared that we have not talked about as far
That's what
as
Linda was talking about.
reducing costs. Now, with all that said, because I couldn't hear everything that you were all talking about, Scott, your question that you asked at the end, where we ended, let's say, or we went into the budget last year with a deficit, are you saying that like your feeling is that's what we've done the past couple of years and we've been okay as the year has gone on? Is that what you're saying?
Basically,
Okay.
yes. And last year we went in with a 3.6 million, and it sounds like we're not going to actually, dip into that. However, Chris is pointing out that he has cut back, and gotten some numbers a lot tighter. So I think I'm hearing like, don't anticipate that necessarily happening or having as much cushion moving forward. But yes, that's been this board and previous fiscal directors have always been very conservative. And we have typically, as Chris said, came in with more revenues and our expenditures were less. But at least the way it was explained to me gave us the ability to make sure that items were covered in the budget, because if they're not in the budget, you can't spend them. So, but as we do with everything, like we're just talking about with the auditorium project, yes, we're going to budget it, but we're going to look at it and we're going to make an educated, the best decision we can at that time. But yes, that's what I was trying to point out, is just because, and historically, just because we've had these budget gaps, we've not necessarily used them. Okay. And in many cases, we've actually ended up with surpluses. Like in 2025, it was over $300,000 of surplus.
There were years when that was millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm. Well, those are gone. I'm afraid, but
yeah, they're gone. They're
gone. Yeah.
And then following up with that, you were talking, I think, about the capital projects and money disappearing. Did I hear that right? Money going down and that not being good? Did I hear that right? That's what I'm saying. I couldn't hear.
The capital projects are covered.
Okay.
I think
The PSERS Spike Fund, previous administrations, and Jim can speak to this better than I, were smart enough to budget in so that there was this big reserve, because they knew that the PSERS Spike Fund was going to hit us really hard. So we would have this money, and every year we've been bleeding money out of that fund so that we haven't had to raise taxes as much. We're about at the end of that.
Got it. Okay. All right. Let's move on and go to other people. I have a bunch, but let's move on.
Okay, I just want to say thank you for bringing that up again, because I think that's pretty important that people understand. The previous boards were very good at putting money away for that PSERS Spike Fund, and I think within 3 years there won't be a penny left in there. 2 to 3 years.
There won't be. Yeah.
It'll be done.
Yeah.
Next.
And next year is when it's really going to hit us, because it's supposed to go up to like 37% or something like that.
Well, that's Harrisburg. We can't control that, right?
I know, but
Okay.
I'm just saying, we're spending that money down. But
You can vote them in or vote them out. Anyone else have a question in the audience? Donna?
Did you have a question? No, I'll defer to the board. Go ahead. No, I'm just going through what Karen was talking about, and I agree with her. I don't like the way this meeting has been set up either, but that document that Karen and Linda and I had put together, at your request, I think so. I think we need to go through this, and we need Bridget in order to do it, because it was her document that was presented to us at a fiscal meeting, and all of those items that she put on there was quite a bit. And we did say we don't want to furlough teachers, right? We agreed. We do not want to furlough teachers, but there were a lot of other items on there that we would like to hear more what would that mean to us? What would that mean to the district? Not that we want to cut any of these, but we want to know, we want more information on that, what it would mean, so that we could make, like Karen said, we have to do a roll call vote on this budget, and we want to know everything we can to know about this. So I think we need another meeting.
So there is another meeting. There is a meeting in May. Okay, and the document that was put together was all referenced from the original fiscal meeting that we had in February/March. Okay,
The document was not posted on board docs.
Yeah, because
Bridget handed it out to us.
If you
at the
weren't
meeting.
at Fiscal,
You didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, it was not needed.
Did you? is
I
that
don't
the
know
registered
why.
statement?
I'm unaware of that, so.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, please go right ahead.
No problem. So on behalf of Dr. O'Connell, so what was available and what was presented and recommended were the items that have been affected and impacted in this budget. Any of the items that are listed on the chart that was created are not recommendations of the administration. Those were simply items that we were pulling out to then provide as because we were asked to reduce the budget very aggressively. But the only items that were recommended by Dr. O'Connell to the board have already been reflected in this budget presentation, and any of those items at this time are not being recommended.
And I will add to that also, and thank you for bringing that up, because now you jogged my memory. We had asked Dr. O'Connell for a heavy lift.
Right.
We had asked her last year to show us everything that could be cut from the budget, and it's coming back to me, okay? And the document that was sent out was in regards to those items that Dr. O'Connell, that we had asked for her to put together.
Well, it wasn't sent out. It was provided at Fiscal, which is why
It
some
was
of the
provided at
members don't
fiscal,
have.
that's correct.
Which is
But we
why
discussed
some-
it at fiscal.
Right, but that's why some members do not have it and have not seen it, because it's
Ah.
never been available
Okay,
to see.
Yeah. I didn't realize it wasn't on board docs.
No,
right.
Myself,
No.
I just never went there to look for it.
No.
Yeah.
Do you want me to see if she can join?
no, I
No.
don't think that's
All
necessary,
right.
because inevitably, even if the board wants to talk through some of those options here tonight, they need further exploration from the administration. We knew Dr. O'Connell couldn't be here tonight. She had a prior commitment. She offered to cancel the prior commitment and come, and I will tell you, I told her not to do that. Because her presence here tonight she wasn't gonna have enough information for us to execute any of the ideas on that list. Tonight, they need, further, like dropping a bus route takes time, effort, and parents need to be notified about those conversations. So, if there are conversations that we want to have based on that list, and we can, frankly, call some of them out, and we can make a decision here at the board, yes, no, next year, I'm perfectly comfortable with that. But I don't think we can make a decision about doing them. I think we can make a decision, yes, we want to hear more this year, yes, we want to hear more next year, things like that.
I believe that is exactly what Director Buer's intention was with the agenda, that very thing. She was looking for a, yes, let's pursue, no, let's not.
That's what I said. Not that we're looking to do these things, but we'd like more information on how it's going to affect the district.
And I think we can, if there's anything, and happy to, well, I'll defer to Director Ramos here, but we have other options here on the agenda. I think that was the intention here, to give audience to some of these ideas. And if anything surfaces as something we want to explore either immediately or next year, we have the administration here. We'll take that back to Dr. O'Connell to look at.
Donna?
I do have a couple of sort of nitty gritty questions. I noticed debt service, like $633,000 or something like that. What sort of debt do we have right now? I'm sure I shouldn't have the
I
answer to
can
that
answer
question.
that. Go ahead. We have a bond.
One bond
We're paying
left.
down a bond, and that
Soon to
bond
be
is,
Run out.
right, and that bond, if I'm not mistaken, expires in less than 18 months.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Second question, salaries, that includes the folks that have just retired. Have we, those projections are
Yes.
inclusive of any of those salaries?
Yes.
As well, thank you. EDRs, where are they charged to?
3,200 function.
Thank you. And one thing I wanted to mention is the security piece for the high school. I know that, and I saw it, the $50,000 for capital. That was already a part of that unless we're doing something else that I'm unaware of. But that piece was already thrown in there. I'm just throwing that out for clarification. The $30,000 to upgrade the high
The
school.
30,000 is not part of the 50,000.
No,
It's not.
it's not.
It's not.
Okay, thank
Plus
you.
there
addition
was
to-
50,000 for bollards too in there, I think,
Yeah.
right?
Gotcha.
In addition to
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
50.
I saw that as well. Yeah, yeah. That happened before. Okay, thank you. That's it.
Hold on, Don, yeah.
Ma'am. What do we actually have in savings? I'm shocked that we don't have money in that spike fund anymore. I thought every year we budgeted so much
We
money,
did. But the
and now we
spike-
don't have it, or the spike went up so high we didn't.
The rate was
account
supposed
for
to come down by now.
Right,
At least not
remember.
go up anymore. It's continued to go up.
okay. So we're not gonna have money next year for the
You have
spike?
$1 million.
We have 1 million.
1 million.
We'll have 1 million left.
Okay, how about in the other fund balances? Do we have money in them? It's like, I don't know where to see that in the budget.
That all-in fund balance.
You bring up a great question there, and, this is the process we're getting to right now, where, if I'm not mistaken, when we had the Palm School built, Director Hollowell, what was the projection of students at the time?
Oh, I don't know. It was
2,200 students?
That's district wide.
23, right?
We had 23 when I started.
20, and do you mind me asking how long ago was that? I'm sorry.
23 years.
When was that?
23.
20, no, how long ago?
Oh, I'm sorry.
1991.
Yeah.
1991.
23, yeah.
So projected by 2030, we're going to be roughly at around 1,200 students, 1,200 and change. So you understand what's happening here, okay? We are, for lack of better reason, we don't have the replacements of the students that we have now. We still have the buildings, we still have the upkeeping. You see where the money's being drained to keep all these things. And this is, I look at it like myself, right? I'm getting to a certain age. I'm going to retire to a small little rancher and make life comfortable for me, right? For my wife and I. Hopefully she wants to stay with me. But what we want to decide is like moving forward, we are drawing down on the monies that previous boards had the foresight to put away for this occasion. And guess what? We're getting to that point. It's being drawn down. Our revenues aren't what they used to be, and our expenses just keep on going higher and higher and higher.
Here's the list of fund balance commitments. They total 17.4 million. There's 3 million in the retirement spike fund. We're going to use 2 in the 27 budget. There's 500,000 for Upper Bucks VOTAC stabilization. I would sit on that until the VOTAC comes back with more aggressive capital projects.
Right.
There's 1.5 million in healthcare stabilization. You could use some of that if you wanted to in this budget. And then there's 12.4 million in district-wide building repairs, which was enough to cover the entire 5-year capital plan.
So that's how much is left in capital projects
as
dedicated to final projects, right?
at the end of last year.
As of the end of 24-25.
So are we not adding each year? We are not budgeting money to put into any of these fund balances so that they continue to be growing? That's what I thought we've been doing, like the spike fund, we're putting money in there every year, but I know it's
We
going
were,
up and we're using
but not
more,
as
but
much.
shouldn't we be budgeting more to put in there as a savings?
We never did budget to actually put in there. What we would do was,
Surplus.
at the end of the year, when the audits came in and we spent less than we intended, or we had a.
We had a
money-
surplus.
Yeah, surplus, whatever you want to call it. Then we would assign that to different fund balances. And we did that again this spring. So the monies from the June 25th audit.
So you are adding funds to these families?
Yeah, but not much.
Not much. So then we need to have a tax increase probably, because we haven't had one, and that I know is what we've done in the past.
Yeah.
So that we can maintain those fund balances for emergencies.
Well,
Within reason.
Slippery slope, do you want to maintain a big fund balance that we might use?
I
or
don't
do you
think it's
wanna-
not a big fund.
budget
balance. You know, it's going up
annually?
37, 38%, you know, that money's not gonna last.
Yeah.
And I think it's better to do it easier on a little bit of
Well,
tax increase than to hit them with one in the 3 years, you know?
Chris is going to do it. Probably.
Dr.
We
Bear?
did, right? We have a 1% in here.
We have a
right?
1%.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Yes,
do.
we
We
do
do.
have a tax.
And we did last year too.
Right.
Yep.
But it was, listen, I want to have no increases.
Right.
But I don't know that we are being fiscally responsible in the long run. I don't know that we are being fiscally responsible like previous boards before I was on this board. I'm not trying to take any credit. Okay, Jim can take all the credit, you know?
Or they blame whatever you want.
But the point, I mean, just looking at this, like, it's great to say, oh, our capital projects that are projected out for 5 years, we have covered in this fund balance. Okay, well, we all know that other things happen, you know, over time that take, we've had this happen this year. And if we're not putting away, then in 5 years, that board is going to have nothing in capital projects to cover the next year after that and so forth. So, you know, I honestly think we've probably been a little bit too reserved in the past years. And, you know, I think that we need to look at what we're doing, which is trying to, you know, reduce the budget as much as possible. But I think in reality, expenses go up. Okay. They go up. And, you know, whether we like it or not, how we're funded, the majority of our funds comes from taxpayers. And we are as fiscally as responsible as possible, but we are also responsible for the education of our students. And that is our number one goal. And I'll say it again, correct me if I'm wrong, but we are the second lowest millage in
Lowest.
Bucks County. We're
Lowest.
actually the lowest now. Okay. So, and that's great. And I want to try to stay that way as much as possible.
Lower than
But
the-
I don't want the board in 5 years, which I don't intend to be here. Okay. I don't want them saddled with having to look at enormous tax increases as well as possible cuts because they can't cover it. It's just, that's not fiscally responsible.
Right. I was on that Act One committee when it started, and we saw what they were, you know, how they were doing it. And I know
Yeah.
that we were putting
Drew put a
money,
big schedule in.
right,
And we've exceeded that
right,
because the
but I didn't
These are
know we weren't.
contributions kept going up instead of leveling off.
I didn't know that we weren't sticking money in there. Like, I would be all for a tax increase to make sure that in the future we don't have a deficit, that we don't have to go out and get a bond, you know?
And the rate of inflation's killed us.
Right.
Central Bucks just blew this Act One index. They got special dispensation to blow it.
Easton's going up 3.5%.
And the auditorium is like.
Not that we should, but, you know,
But
just as a
we
comparison.
have had the benefit, as you mentioned, of having those large surpluses. And that's why I remember when Dave Halbert was on board, he was certainly very vocal about not having tax increases when we had a savings that was so healthy. But as Joanne is saying,
They're going away.
And
Savings are getting low.
inflation is at a level that we didn't have 5-6 years ago.
That's insane.
Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, I have one.
Go right ahead, Cora.
I'm looking at the expenses and looking at the tuition. What are all the, there's a whole, 5 different tuition.
What numbers are you at? Can you give me a number with that, please?
Okay, we've got 561, 62, 63, 64, 66, 67, 68, and 60.
We did the first.
Sure.
first two numbers.
I think a number of those are for special education.
That's what I'm just asking, you know.
I think a number of those are
why-
special
Why do
education.
you have, why are they so broken out? I mean, what's the difference? Because there's so many of them.
Do you want
So-
to take this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, they're broken out for the charter schools for reporting purposes.
Yeah, I know the charters.
Yeah, and then the other ones are like, Linda had said, special ed, for private. It's more for reporting so that we can, see where we're spending the money and see where, what code is coming from.
I was just wondering whether these are all individual students, like, or are they all individual different schools? I didn't realize we had that many different.
Yeah, there are different schools that will fall into the
They're all
different categories.
schools. Okay.
I think there are different kinds of placements, and if I can add, the committee has been working with Chris and team with specificity of coding, so there's been a lot more specificity, I think, in this budget than we've seen in the past. So we're seeing a lot more line items, which is hopefully helpful for us to kind of identify and sort of line item veto, for lack of a better term.
So
Sure.
these are separate from the IU. None of these are IU.
Well, there's a couple I use down there, 94, 95,
There's a
96.
line item. So they're special placements, so if the child needs a placement in a private.
Okay.
Right.
So I'd like to transition to some of these other items that were on that list. So specifically, the farmstead homestead we talked about, and the other one would be selling a land parcel. We haven't looked at that. So those are two areas where I think we should be looking at that for potential revenue increases. And as I stated, at least for now, until we get that information from the KCBA or whoever they are on the buildings and demographic and all
RFP.
that stuff, till we have that discussion, I think we sit on as tight a budget as we can for now. Because my question has always been, since I have been on this board, what amount of savings are we striving for? I would like to see a formula to tell us when we are at a reasonable place. I do not like asking taxpayers to pay us money so we can invest and sit comfortable and keep increasing what's in that savings account and keep asking them for more money. That's just my 2 cents. So can we discuss the farmstead homestead thing? I'm not sure which of you gentlemen has the most information to share on that.
Well,
What can
I
we
mean,
potentially be looking at with that?
I mean, I think that's something you have to give Chris and Bridget some time then to, to bring back to the
Well,
board. I know
is-
I've spoken on it a little bit, but I'm certainly not,
You're talking about the farm program,
yeah,
not the
not the,
homestead.
not the homestead. I don't think she's talking about the homestead. I
The
think she's
homestead
talking-
yeah.
farmstead's in state law.
Yeah.
Okay,
The farm
well,
program is something you have control over.
okay, well, that's the one that we
And
want
we
then.
re it
It
up
was
each
listed
year.
in the minutes incorrectly then, because I think it's on that list as farmstead homestead. So that was listed incorrectly. So, okay, so that's fine. With I mean, is the whole board here? Is that something we as a board then can say, we would like more information on that? I, for one, would like more information on that.
Isn't that the one, Jim, where if your taxes are
Yep.
$5,000, they stay at $5,000 because you're a farmer? We don't
Doesn't-
increase them when we increase taxes? Isn't
The
that?
millage rate
It's
is frozen at whatever it was when you sold your development rights. In my case, it's substantial,
Right.
because I go all the way back to 95.
Before dirt. Sorry.
So we
So
need to
it-
hear from
it would
other
be a
board
hardship
members
for me.
on whether or not that's something to pursue.
Do you know what that is, Linda? Do you know what we're saying? Like,
I
people
do,
like Jim,
I
who's
do.
a Farmer, they're.
I do. I do.
And as Scott has said, it's not just farms, it
I-
preserves this land, so it can't be developed.
So there's a lot of knowledge that I think some people have the knowledge and other people don't. And it's one of the reasons I've always said that we should do it every year. So we re-up it and agree to be in it every year so that we have this option to, to have this discussion, because I think I have stated in the past that the concept behind it is great for a current farmer, that they can sell their development rights, their millage gets frozen, taxes get frozen at that time. They're continuing to farm. That's a huge asset to our community, our society. We need to help them all that we can. However, that also stays in place if the property gets sold. So I believe that the good intention behind it is part of that is no longer in effect, but the downside to the income to the district is still there. And that's just something that I think as a board, is worthwhile to be aware of. I'm not saying change anything, but you should
Investigate.
Yes.
I don't know
Did you
how,
say that new farmers didn't get that though?
What I'm saying is that if Jim sells his property tomorrow
It goes with
to
that
somebody, it goes
transaction.
with the property.
I know this discussion.
And I will tell you, being in this field, that the people making I can only speak for people that I'm aware of, but generally speaking, the people making those purchases don't even know that.
well,
Depending on who your real estate agent is.
yeah. And they are,
But I
the buyer
can,
is reaping the benefits of that. Because the
What's that?
sale price, the buyer is getting the benefit of that land preservation. In that they're getting a lower price.
lower
Because they're
price of
not-
what?
They're not buying the property as best use. You know what that means?
So we could have a long discussion
know.
of pros and cons and hypotheticals on this.
I don't know how much you want to get into.
Yeah, no, and the point is I'm 100% in favor of it, but I mean, it's just something that I've always said the board should be aware of, is that all of the farms that are still have their millage rate frozen are not an example of like what you're doing and so forth.
But don't they have to be farmed in order
That's
to
the state.
freeze that millage rate?
It's in perpetuity.
Yeah.
So when a farm is preserved, it stays preserved. I sell my farm, or
It stays.
it's gonna be a farm for the next generation in my case.
Mhm.
Your farm, when it goes on to the next generation, is gonna be, continue to be a farm.
That's the
Where one of
concept, that it
things
should
One
stay.
of the more concerning efforts that needs to be done by the community is 319. And I can tell you at the county level, we're gonna start looking hard at people that aren't using 319 appropriately and redacting 319 from those folks. That hits you harder.
Yeah.
If you take a look, and Chris can probably pull up the numbers of how much money it's costing for the frozen millage. Put a value to that.
Well,
Remind us what 319 is.
319 values for assessed value, 319 values it at farmland value.
Right. There's three types of 319 in that sense: forestry,
Yes.
ag preserve,
Yep.
and active ag.
Yeah, and I think public access is part of that too. right?
Well, public access is part of the preserve, ag preserve. You cannot post your property if you're in that. Anyone that has 10 acres plus in the state of Pennsylvania is eligible for 319. And if you take a look at the land mass in this school district, and someone should do a GIS map to see 319 versus non-319, you'll be an eye opener.
It sounds like there's an active discussion that should be had, so maybe if the committee can decide timing for the administration, so is this something that we need to decide for purposes of this budget? And where to kick it to, I'm not quite sure if that's a fiscal or a board and we can talk about it at the board meeting next week if you want, just to figure out when, but timing would be helpful here to give Dr. O'Connell an idea of whether this is something we want to impact this budget or.
Now, the other thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but off the top of my head, I think we're talking about, for all the properties involved in it, about 75,000.
Yeah.
So just so that, we're not talking about $1 million here. So, just to bring that into perspective as well.
And
Thank you, Scott.
I'm sure that if we decide not to honor the the tax millage, we're gonna get court cases to say that it's not right, how it is.
Well, we have the right
Take
to
that.
not do it though, as a school district. That's why we re it up every
Yeah.
year. So we have the legal ability not to do it. And I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't do it, but when we make decisions, we should understand fully what we're making a decision on. That's all my goal is, so.
Hey, Chris, can I ask you another question?
Sure.
Is state law still 8% of our budget is what we can have in
That's max.
reserve?
And unassigned.
Max.
And unassigned.
So that's still like, we're not anywhere near,
We're not anywhere near the 8%.
and we used to be.
Oh, yeah.
No, they always run lower than that. They don't want that to be up by 8. They keep it down more
I'm just
around
saying,
4.
We used to have a nice.
Well,
budget.
that was intentionally down at 4, and it has been. I'm pretty sure. I asked that of Lori Olickson when she was here. Did you say something, Sylvia?
No, I said, let's move on. to the
I'm gonna
next
move, I'm gonna move us
Yeah.
forward here.
Well,
Thank you very
my
much,
other thing
everyone.
was selling a land parcel. Do we know anything about
Oh,
that?
land
Is that something that we can do? Bridget had that on the thing.
I think it's a glint in somebody's eye. I think that's as far as we've gotten from that.
So that's not legit.
Well, it's not that it's a legit, it's just,
I think
we,
that could be an exploration for next
No
year,
ground
because I don't
between
know
the
that.
high.
Correct.
Not a make- I know more than we.
I don't. What I heard Michael say is that everything that was feasible is in this budget, and anything else is up for discussion outside of this budget
Not
conversation.
recommended by the.
That's what I heard. And so all of this discussion is great and should continue. I mean, if there are ways, if there's property that could be sold or something, but it happening within this budget timeline, I
No, that
don't
won't
think that's
happen.
going to be the case.
I appreciate that perspective, but the board has never had the opportunity to have these discussions. So it's worth bringing up
Oh,
now.
yeah, I'm not
So-
disputing that. I'm thinking timing.
So,
do we
All right.
have any last minute comments here before we close for the evening? Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
And your name and where you from?
Jill Williams, Upper Black Betty. Just parent perspective, in seventh grade alone, Josephine has lost 4 classmates, really good, high achieving students, because they went to private schools. Because our school isn't always necessarily meeting everyone's educational needs. And I realize that it's deeper and more varied than that, and that there's a lot of money involved. But my philosophy has always been that if we invest in our students, Scott said, let's not forget that the main goal is educating children. And if we continue to invest in making our teachers cared for, in providing the resources and the facilities that they need to grow and thrive, our district will remain strong. We will have people continue to move to the district to be a part of this school instead of moving away from and leaving, losing more revenue. And I just think it's important to keep that in mind always in the back of our head as we get enveloped in all of the numbers. And it's really great to have a really amazing, strong savings. I understand that. I don't think a lot of districts in the state do, and I appreciate that that has been able to help us weather the storm. But also, if we're talking about a decrease in students over time and we eventually end up closing a building, I think that will open up some more opportunities for us. So I would rather see us continue to invest in the schools and in teachers and in our students as we go through these changes. And if that means raising taxes, I support it. If that means lowering our savings for a while until we can recoup it as we go through those building changes, I support it. I just don't want to ever see us stop putting them at the very forefront of our minds as we're making these decisions.
Thank you so much for your comment. Yes, ma'am.
Just one more,
Yes, go
sorry.
right
The
ahead.
third item on my list, which I did not mention yet tonight, and I will, is a middle school coach or interventionist position to go with the instructional aspect of our budget. The other thing is, and Scott, this is specific to kind of what you were saying. So is your recommendation we raise the tax to from 1%? Is that the committee's recommendation?
It's in the budget.
As one?
Well, as
oh,
1% for now.
Oh, that, right, I'm asking this, but we've said maybe going up.
Well, it's in as one.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that I'm thinking it should be higher. And I can't believe those words are coming out of my mouth. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I honestly do. Taking a look at the numbers, looking at how much we've been drawing down, our, fund balance. I don't think that it's fiscally responsible to just do 1%.
Question, when you talk about percentages, when you talk 1%, what is that equivalent to in a mill?
297.
No, well, mills.
No,
It's a little better than 1 mil.
What?
Because we're at-
1% is equal to what?
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Can you divide the,
We're at 111 now.
the revenue by millage real quick? pull through 2028.
And
Yeah, your PD 2028.
I love the campers.
While we're pulling that up, do we have any more last questions for tonight?
Not question, just a last comment. Chris, you said about that there'll be a budget on May 6th agenda with some changes. When you post that on Board Docs, can you just do the yellow highlights of the places where you made changes? It is so hard to put those screens up. There's so many lines.
May 6th is going to be the budget that you saw tonight.
Oh, okay. All right.
May 18th, we'll have changes.
Okay.
We'll trot out a new change chart.
Please,
We'll,
yellow highlights like you did on the thing is great. It's just, it's
Absolutely.
it's so
It
many
helps.
lines. You're sitting there with papers going.
yeah, do the math real quick.
Any last minute comments or questions while we get this final answer?
Divide the.
I always
the
like
real
to
estate
go
revenue by
even millage
mills.
numbers. So instead of going 0.236, make it
You like
a half.
cent per gas?
Yeah.
Who thought that was a good idea?
I'm gonna put a picture of you outside that said, you did this. I did this.
It's not
I'm
the
thinking
assessed
it's like-
value, it's the revenue. Go to the revenue report.
Go to the local tax revenue at 100% by the millage rate.
One moment, please.
Fuzzy math.
one moment, please. I'm on.
You don't have your glasses. You got that formula down.
So.
One of your presentations shows us what a mill is worth.
Yeah, I've seen
Go
it,
back to
and I
your
don't know
real
what it
estate
is.
report. What's the new knowledge?
Somewhere along the line.
That's what I was trying to get up and I couldn't
Stuff.
remember my
Yeah.
password.
Oh, boy.
Oh, we still have an executive.
246.6 thousand.
I was close to 250.
What was the number again, Chris?
246,000.
Per mill.
246 per mill?
Yes.
Tax increase dollar wise.
Any other, for the good of the meeting here tonight? Jim?
Nope.
Nope. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for coming out this evening. I hope everyone got some extra information here.